Hi there. Welcome to the particular video here that we're doing for helping you with installing the program. Now, we do have a guide, of course, on our website to also re-explain this, but we just wanted to give you a more specific video to have a look at how to do this. Now, there are two general types of setups in offices that will be normally used to set up the program, and the most common type of setup is a data sharing setup. So what I mean by that is that each computer in your office has your own programs installed locally on each of your separate computers, and then you have one computer or a server type of computer that shares your data for those programs to all of you. So in that setup, it's called a data share. And what you do with Clear Biz is you will install the program locally to the default location on each of your computers on your own computers themselves. And then what you'll do is you'll create a data file that you'll then want to link to your server later on. Now, when you first begin by opening the program, it will ask you to actually create a data file, and you can just at that point say to put it on the server right away. But for some of the older versions of the program, the data file was created in a default location automatically in your system, and I'm going to show you how to access your data file once you're in the program, regardless of whether it was automatically created or if you chose where to put your file. So the first thing you want to do then is for your local installation setup, and actually even for any setups, is you're going to want to download the program from the website, which is clear-biz.com, and then you'll be able to find it in the downloads page. Now, the other type of setup that is available for some offices is some offices are using a terminal server setup, and there are also cloud providers that have the same type of setup as well. So what a terminal setup is that there is one very powerful computer that is running, and it has all of your programs and your data installed in that one location. And then everybody from their own computers remotes into that very powerful computer and uses that same system to separately run their programs and information. So in that particular instance, ClearBiz is not actually installed on your local computers. It's actually installed from the admin login on that terminal server, and then the program is then shared to each of the terminal logins, and its data is then placed on a particular location that everybody can freely access. Usually, most offices, if they have that setup, will also have a qualified IT person that will be available to help with that sort of thing. But if you are having any struggles with it, of course, you can certainly let us know by either giving us a ring at the toll-free number or sending an email to support@clear-biz.com. So let's try installing the program. So what you're going to do is double-click the installer. And then Windows, in most cases, will just ask you, are you sure you want to run this? Sometimes you'll see user account control come up with a yes or an allow to confirm you want to do this. And also in some cases, if you're running a virus software, it will also ask you, are you sure you want to do this? So you would just say yes or allow on your virus software as well. So when you begin running, it's going to then show you this first screen here. What you want to do is you want to click Next. You can read the agreement if you wish and then choose to accept it. Otherwise, you won't be able to continue. Click Next again. Leave it installed to its default location on your local computer. And also same thing if it's being installed on a terminal server. Just leave it in the default location. You don't have to change this. When you click Next, it's going to ask you what you want to create the name for the shortcut folder in your start menu, and then it's going to ask if you want a desktop icon, and finally then you can click Install. And that's going to go through the installation bar, so you're just going to see a progress bar fill up at this point. And once that's done, you'll be able to click on Finish, and then we can then open the program right afterwards. So we're just going to let that take a moment to finish up here. Okay, so then we click Finish when that's done, and then your ClearBiz icon will be on your desktop. So then you can just double click it to open it up. Now, as I said, if this is the first time you're using the program, then with our newest, most recent version, it's just going to ask you if you want to create a new file or if you want to specify a file location. And the reason why it asks you if you want to specify is because let's say you've already set up the program and you've already set up your data and you've put it on your shared location, and then you want to connect the rest of your computers. So after you do the installation on each of your machines locally, like what I just did here, then to get them actually connected to your real data, you would just choose the specify option and point it to the data that you've created. But if you haven't created the data file, then you can choose to create it. If you're looking at an older version of the program, you're just going to see the trial screen to begin with, and then you're going to choose to try it for free and move on to the next screen. And at that point, you're then going to be able to say whether or not you're going to specify to point it to your data file, or if you're going to then create a new file. So when you do create a file, it's going to ask you very simple things. It's going to ask you to put in your company's name and information, and then create your first user for the program, which becomes your admin. And finally, it'll ask you if you want to put in your sample clients or if you just want to add in your first actual client. It needs at least one client to run. After you do that, it's going to be back at the login screen, and then you're going to click sign in. Now, when you first create a user, there is no password, so you do not have to worry about putting that in. You can add a password to the users later if you wish. But when you click sign in, you're then going to be brought to the standard screen here. Now, it looks like my name is still logged in, so we're just going to click sign in here after removing my name from the login list. So we'll be at the default screen, and there won't normally be any pop-ups when you first come into the program, but you may see something coming up for the compression wizard. This is something you want to run after you've had a chance to do all of your importing with your data. The compression wizard is very much like running disk defragmentation on your Windows operating system. It basically does the same thing, but it's a maintenance tool for your data file. So nothing is lost or dropped from the program. It just makes sure the file is running as efficiently as it can. Now, if your data file has been created to the default location, or let's say you've chosen where you wanted to create your data file, but you maybe don't now remember where you put it, you can always find your data file by going to the Tools menu and opening up the Data File Wizard. And this is going to give you a window here that tells you exactly where your file is located and exactly what the name of it is. And you'll always note that the main file you need for this ends with the extension of CTD. So whatever you've named it, or the default name would just actually be data.ctd if you've never really changed the name itself. If you want to go right to the location of that, you can actually just click Open Data File Folder right below this here, and it'll take you directly to the location of your file. The CTD file is the only thing you need. Now, let's say, okay, I've got my data file, I've got it created, and now I want to move it to my server so everybody can access it. So what you want to do then is you actually now need to close off Clear Biz. But obviously you want to keep the folder open that contains your actual data file. So then what you can do is right-click it and choose to cut from this location. So this is going to permanently move it from here. And then you can go to your server and right-click where you want it to go and then hit paste. And that's going to move the file to the new location. Now, from your computer, from the first one you set it up with the data, if you've moved it, then when you reopen Clear Biz on your system, you're going to see an error window asking you to relocate your data file because it's now been moved. So what you can do is you can click on Show More Options and use the Specify button, which is also, again, what you would do on your other computers to connect them up to your data file, and then tell it to open your data file from its new location. Now, for those of you that are just starting to use the program and haven't had a chance to register yet, on your registration screen, there is an ability to put in, obviously, your registration code. Now, you'll get a registration code after you do purchase the program, and your registration window is going to look very much like this here. So you're going to have a product number, which is actually allocated to the data file itself. So that product number is specific to this data file. And when you actually do put registration in the program, it actually registers not the program itself, but the data file. And the reason that happens is because that means you only ever have to put in your registration one time. So once you do register your data file, if you then want to put in Clear Biz on any of your other computers and register them as well, after you install them, and then, like I said, you want to connect them to your data file. Once you connect them to your actual registered data file, the program will automatically become registered at that point because it's the data file that contains that information. So in the event that you're ever replacing a computer in future or adding a new one or what have you, all you have to do is install the program and connect it to your data file, and that will register the program once it's connected. So now that you've got your program installed, the only other thing you may want to do then is to add your users into the system. So you'll want to go to the Users menu at the top and go into Manage Users. Now, the first user you created for your program is your admin, and they're the only person who can currently do this. So they can go to the Manage menu, and then they can add as many users as they want. You'll want to click the Add New User button. And then for the first field, you're going to put the person's first and last name. And the second field below that is their login name, and then you click Finish. And after that, you're going to see the name appearing here on the left. And finally, then you can choose what permissions they're able to have in the program. The permissions are fairly straightforward. There is a button here called View Information on user privileges that does actually explain what these login types will do. But to give you a quick example, administrators have full access to everything in the program, so nothing is modified or limited for them. Users, full users in the program cannot go into the Manage Users menu and add or remove users from the program, but they can do everything else. And also that reminds me to point out to you, never remove a user from your software because their name is linked to historical items in the system once they start doing things. So in future, you can actually make a user inactive. And if you ever need a hand with that, just let us know and we'll show you how to do it at the time. But we suggest not removing or deleting users from your system for that reason alone, so that you can maintain the historical links for that particular user's name. Now, a power user in the system has access to things like adding clients or tasks to the program or removing clients and editing their details, but they cannot change anything about users in the system or any program preferences like email settings or any sort of general setup options. An edit user has the ability to add and remove clients from the program and edit their information and schedule tasks, but they cannot change any client options, they cannot change any program preferences, and not do anything in the Manage Users section. Limit to profile users can not add or remove clients from the system. They can only edit the information of the clients that are currently in, and they are not able to remove or schedule tasks. They can just move around tasks that have been specifically assigned to them. Appointment users can only modify things in the appointment section of the program, but obviously can still see the other sections, and then read-only means you can come in and look at things, but you can't really do anything. Now, if you do want to set up passwords for your users, you can do it from the admin login under this window, and then you basically just put in a password, set it, and then save that. Also, with the most recent version of the program, you can now clear the password on a per-user basis. In older versions of the program, if you happen to have been using that, then you would have had to send us a code, and it would remove all the passwords from the program simultaneously. So you won't necessarily have to worry about that in future. If a person does want to make their own password, though, they can actually just log into the program, go to Users here at the top, and go to Change Password, and then they can set their own for the person they're logged in as. So that's basically all it takes to get things done. Now, for those of you that are on the terminal server setup, you only have to install the program just the one time and then share it to the other terminal logins. So that also is quicker when it comes to updating because you only have to do it the one time. If you're updating in a data share setup, then everybody has to install the update on each of their computers locally before they can all start using the program again. And the only other thing that you'll find is in the terminal server setup, even though the data is on the same server as the program, from each separate terminal login, you will still have to link the program to the correct data file so that they have access to it. Once it's been linked to the file, it will retain that, and at that point, you don't have to do that anymore. So that's basically all it takes to get the program set up. But as we stated before, if there is any communication problems here with it, or if you have any issues, you can certainly give us a ring at the toll-free, which is available on our website, or send an email to support@clear-biz.com. So we want to thank you, obviously, for taking a bit of time out of your day to go through this and just get some information on how to do this a little easier in your systems. And hopefully this helps you out a long way to just getting quicker to the ability to actually set up the deadlines you need to take care of and then go from there with your clients. So once again, thanks very much for taking a look at this video, and we do wish you to have a wonderful day.